Goodman in the house. I'm Meghan McKeown. Gentlemen, welcome on into a freaking wild night of college hoops, to say the least. Iowa goes down to Eastern Illinois. We're gonna hit on it all. UNC takes care of business against Michigan in what was practically a home game. And Jeff Goodman, who said Iowa was going to win the Big Ten, is still holding strong with Herky Hawkeye.
I'm still believing in the Fighting McCaffreys right now.
Eastern
they were
Illinois,
down in McCaffrey tonight, though.
They're not part of the Big Ten, so I think you're okay. You're okay.
And we found a loop in the argument. Gentlemen, let's start out. We got a lot to get to with our toast of the night, where we go around before every show and just give a little shout out to whoever we deem shout outable. I'm going to start, and I'm going to give it up for Eastern Illinois head coach Marty Simmons' halftime speech in the biggest upset of the modern era. I want to know what the hell he said, because Eastern Illinois shot 72% from the field in the second half. I mean, you can't script this stuff. Cheers, Coach Simmons.
And there's a Chris Mack, Marty Simmons connection, by the way.
Yeah,
did you know that?
Marty Simmons was a senior at Evansville, transfer from IU. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
I was a senior in high school when Marty was a senior in college. He was one of the leading scorers in the country. I don't know if people realize that. He averaged about 25 a game. And so, when you go through your recruitment, you go on your official visit, had the opportunity to sort of get to know him, even though I never played with Marty. So big win over the Hawkeyes for Coach Simmons tonight.
Did he host you on your visit?
He did not host me.
I was going to ask you if Marty showed you a good time.
So he was going to be gone. So he's not going to host a guy that's not going to be there. Scott Hafner, Evansville legend, had 65 points in the game. Scott was my host. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Take me back.
All right. You want to go next, Mac? What's your toast?
Since Megan stole my Marty Simmons, I'm going to have to think here on the fly. So go ahead, Goodman. I'll buy you.
Yeah. I'll buy you a minute here. I'm going to go with Earl the Pearl Grant. I was at Boston College tonight. They beat a ranked Virginia Tech team. And, my toast for Earl is he's been without 3 starters for most of the year. Year 2 at BC. Great dude, coming from obviously the South, from Charleston. And he's got 2 of his starters back now. The one who's still not back is Quentin Post. He's hoping to have him back next week after the break against Syracuse. But that's a hell of a win, and just one that honestly I think you need, like going into Christmas. You could just tell Micaiah Ashton Langford, he had a great game tonight. He was so happy. I mean, they lost to Maine and New Hampshire and Tarleton State already. So I just felt good for Earl Grant and Micaiah and some of those other guys who have, honestly struggled a lot early.
Yeah, he got some good guys coming back too. Post is a good player. That really helped him.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and toast Hubert Davis. I think you guys were roasting him the last time I was on here, saying that Carolina didn't look like a tournament team. In the meantime, they've won 4 in a row. I think
roast to toast. I like it.
Exactly. From roast all the way to toast. Hubert Davis did a great job. Big time win against the Michigan Wolverines tonight. And I thought Armando Bacot was terrific. And man, he's good. That's who I'm going with. And I'm laying off the Miller Lights. I'm going regular Coke tonight.
Why, you gaining some weight?
No, I had a little guys trip over the weekend in Tampa to go watch the Bengals Buccaneers. Probably drank more Miller Lite than you're allowed to in the state of Florida. So.
Were you double fisted the whole time again?
At least, yeah.
More than double.
It was.
How was the game?
Well, I mean, if you were a Buccaneers fan, it was a great first half, terrible second half. Fortunately, I was a Bengals fan. It was terrible first half. I mean, literally 2 complete opposite halves. I don't know if you saw it. Down 17-3, and then
at least you saw the GOAT.
And Miller Lite makes any game better.
I saw the GOAT, and I also saw Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Joe Burrow.
I knew that was coming. He really thinks Joe Burrow is going to be the GOAT. You're out of your mind.
He's got a long way to prove that, but I'm going to tell you, he's pretty good.
He's fun, though. He's fun to watch.
Goodman, are you drinking a milkshake? What you got there?
Yes, it's a vanilla milkshake. I threw a little alcohol in it, so it does qualify.
Got McDonald's eggnog.
McDonald's vanilla milkshake on the way home. Talia wanted to split one. She did not get the alcohol in her half of the milkshake.
Wow. Responsible parenting right there.
That's
Jeff.
right. That's right.
Hey, coach, you started it out with UNC. Let's go there first.
Yep.
UNC takes care of business against Michigan. Armando Bacot, you mentioned, had a great game, 26 points, 11 for 15. It seems like UNC has finally figured out that when Bacot gets touches, good things happen because they really weren't getting him the ball that much earlier in the year. Coach, what'd you see in this?
A little bit more than they normally have been giving him the ball, Megan. I tell you, I hate, being critical of other coaches, and, it's not always the coaches, but I think they have to give him the ball more. I think he's way more than just a set a screen and roll to the rim and get stuff around the rim through either garbage offensive rebound points or rolling to the rim. I think he's a terrific passer. I know obviously he's going up against Hunter Dickinson, who's, really, really mammoth in there, but I think he can draw fouls. I think he can score on anybody in the country. And when those guys are playing off closeouts, particularly RJ Davis and Caleb Love, I think they're way more difficult to guard than when they're just pounding the ball up top. Armando Bacot needs the ball even more, I think.
I'm with you 100% on that one, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. To me, with that team, it hasn't worked going the other way, right? Like where the guards dominate the ball. And I know part of it was Bacot's fault earlier this season. When I was watching him in Portland, he wasn't getting deep post position. So I think it was a combination. But if he does what he needs to do, there's very few players that can stop him. Yeah. And again, he and Hunter is a great matchup. Those dudes played AAU ball together.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember seeing him a few years ago, and they were terrific together. So I was really looking forward to this matchup, and I knew Bacot would be ready. This was perfect. The timing for all this was ideal for Carolina because they get that big win against Ohio State, and it was one of those that I think brought some emotion to them, right? Pete Nance hits that shot to force overtime. They win it. It's an emotional kind of flip the switch type game a little bit. You start to feel good about yourself. And now you go in where Bacot is motivated. Mm-hmm. He's hungry to play against Hunter and show not only is he one of the best big men in the country, but yeah, this was the dude who I played with back in AAU ball. I'm going to show him. And I thought, again, they set the tone with Bacot, and the guards can kind of play off him.
100%. I mean, I have so much respect for how strong and how agile Bacot is. I mean, I think he could do more. I think they could get him the ball. I don't want to say every time down the floor. And I hear what you're saying, that sometimes he doesn't battle and get deep post position, but he's pretty good in handoff situations. He's pretty good in the long post as well.
And he plays hard, Chris. Like while we've criticized Carolina for the last 2 years, for parts of the last 2 years, for some of their guys not playing hard, Bacot usually brings it.
I agree. I think Carolina, if they can fix this problem that I think they've had, whether they're winning or losing, is not to just play in spurts.
Right.
And again, that's the challenge for any coach, is to try to keep your team consistent throughout the 40 minutes and try to keep them consistent throughout the season. But with Carolina, it's just so telling because they're so talented, in my opinion. They're not deep.
Right.
But when you have a guy like Leaky Black, who seems like he's been there for a long time, the backcourt that we talked about, I know Nance is different than Manick, but he's a good player. And I think Bacot's, up there as being a first-team All-American type guy.
And Black was the difference maker tonight defensively, especially. He really frustrated Hunter Dickinson. Look, Hunter was ineffective. He was 3 for 9 from the field. In this game, what impressed me about UNC was in ball screen situations when Hunter Dickinson was guarding Pete Nance, they started drawing him away from the basket. And as a result, UNC was able to attack, and they had a lot of open looks because Dickinson wasn't there to be a shot blocker. So to me, they're making better decisions, and that chemistry is flowing more offensively. And coach, how much of that takes time and how much of it is like finally?
Well, I think that when you go to the national championship game, you basically bring everybody back. No disrespect to Manick. I think that there are so many expectations, but you still have to work that out in the preseason. You still have to have game-like experiences and learn from them. I mean, you're not just going to start off with the NCAA tournament your first game. You have to build yourself throughout the season. But I think Carolina really exposed that with Michigan, in my opinion. Hunter Dickinson kept getting stretched way out on the floor in ball screen situations. I think he did a terrific job hedging the ball screen, but it takes him a long time to then change directions and get back. And they got caught a couple times where they lazily switched. They tried to switch when the guy that he was guarding had the basketball. I think it really hurt him. And I think Carolina just, the last thing I'd add, I thought they almost started to shoot themselves in the foot when they started to double Dickinson. And I know he's a great player, but I think that sort of falls into what he does best, and that's find the open man. And it cut it to a 3 points when Joey Baker hit the three, and that was after Doug had missed the one earlier. So to me, Baycott could have handled him one-on-one. If they started to get hurt or he got in foul trouble, they could have gone to a double. But nevertheless, terrific victory for Carolina after Goodman had him in the NIT 2 weeks ago.
And now he's got him on the shelf behind him. I mean, from roast to toast.
Bandwagon guy.
Listen, couple good wins. It can change quickly. You guys both know this from coaching and playing. Everything can change really quick. You can go from completely off the grid, and momentum is everything, right? And feeling good about yourself and playing together. It can change quick. Carolina saw that last year from March 5th on, and I think they're capable of flipping it. I just wanted to see them have that emotion and look like they were playing together. And I think, again, you might look at that play, that Pete Nance shot at the end of the year, and if this team, I don't know if they're going to do what they did again last year, but even if they can make a Sweet 16 this year, and fight for an ACC regular season title, that's a hell of a year in this day and age of college basketball where, and we're going to talk about this soon, Virginia Tech losing to Boston College at Boston College, Iowa losing tonight, making history. Like kids these days, it is so much harder because of, to me, all of the things with social media, with NIL, with transferring, people coming at them, right? Their guys telling them, all right, you're not getting enough time. There's a kid who transferred out of Georgia tonight. And he's averaging 20 minutes a game as a freshman, 6 points a game. He was a top 100 recruit. They just came off their best win of the year. They beat Notre Dame. And he decided to transfer. And it's like, dude, stick it out. I mean, unless something happened that I don't know about, which maybe it did, maybe again, his girlfriend's back home. He wants whatever. But ultimately, there's just so much that can be distracting now that it makes it harder for a team like Carolina to from start to finish be dominant.
There certainly are way more distractions. And I think in Carolina's case, you add the distractions on top of the expectations. Mm-hmm. I know no one wants to hear it, but those guys are 18 to 22 years old. Yep. And, they heard how good they were over the summer.
Summer.
Everybody all summer. And everybody's going to, want a little bit different role. Not saying guys are selfish, but it's only natural. You're going to be a sophomore and going to your junior year. You want to put a little bit more points on the board. You want to make a little bit more plays. So those things have to be experienced and learned from. And I think Carolina, like you said, Jeff, really good week for those guys.
And Carolina came into the season as the number one ranked team preseason wise. Then they drop out of the top 25. Coach, as a coach, do you prefer to not be ranked in this kind of situation, for those expectations, or does it even matter to you
I think for your program in terms of recruiting, you always want that recognition.
Sure.
But it's a two-headed monster. You also have your own team that you're preparing for and preparing with, and, making sure those guys are grounded. I've never had a team that was number one in the country to start a season. You haven't accomplished anything. It's based on the season before and who you have coming back. So I'm sure those are expectations that are tough to manage for a coach, but it beats the alternative, Megan, not having your team in the rankings. I can tell you that.
Well, I'm sure a lot of things beat the alternative of what Fran McCaffrey has had to deal with tonight. Eastern Illinois takes on Iowa. This game went as expected in the first half. Then all of a sudden, Eastern Illinois comes out in the second half, shoots 72% from the field. I watched the second half of this game. It was as if they could not miss a shot. Guys, I mean, as Iowa, like, what do you do? What does this say? I know you got your Iowa hat on, Jeff. I'll let you start because you said Iowa could win the Big Ten. I'm still with you. This is kind of a fluky thing, but my goodness, what happened?
Well, I mean, number one, they were without two key pieces, right? You're without Chris Murray, your most talented player and your most talented scorer. And he's been out with plantar fasciitis for a while now, and they're hoping he'll be back soon. And you're without Connor McCaffrey, who doesn't put up huge numbers, but he's in his like 7th year, and he's a tough MFer. That's what he brings to the table. So I'm not making excuses. They should have beaten Eastern Illinois anyway. But you add to it again, and I know people are going to get tired of me saying this, but I think Matt can back me up on this. The Christmas break coming around the corner, kids aren't as focused. They want to get home. A lot of them want to get home and see their families, and you know, they're tired of the grind so far. They're looking forward to seeing maybe their friends when they get back home. And then again, I don't know what the crowd was at Iowa tonight. I know what it was at Boston College. There was nobody there. So in a way, I've said this, and you played at BC, Chris. So there's home court advantages, which is like Louisville at the Yum Center when it's packed, Kentucky at Rupp, and you know, Duke and Kansas and those places. And then there's a home court advantage like Boston College tonight, where there's nothing, there's no juice. So the visiting team comes in, whether it's Eastern Illinois or Virginia Tech, and they're just like, there's nothing there. There's nothing. You want that in a way. You want to play on the road in front of a hostile crowd, in front of fans that get you juiced. And there was none of that probably in Iowa tonight.
Well, if I could paint the picture, right? How many fans do you think Eastern Illinois plays in front of in their home games?
Not many.
Maybe 500, 1,000.
Yeah.
So they're used to it. Maybe a bigger arena, but the same amount of people. You know, Iowa, I mean, they're used to playing Indiana. They're used to playing Michigan. They're used to playing in big time environment, big time games. And all their players have their bags packed in their dorm room or their apartment.
Yeah.
They probably have some good buddies from high school that they got tickets for that they're gonna jump in their car and they're gonna head back to their hometown as soon as the game's over, because they've got the 3 days at least, depending on Iowa's next game, whenever that is. And Christmas games are death. There are no students. All the students are gone. So the arena already lacks that buzz that you'd normally have. You know, no matter how many folks are coming in from out of town, you know, to go to the Iowa Hawkeyes tonight, it's totally different environment. And then the players are looking across the half court pregame and saying, this Eastern Illinois, they probably looked up their scores. This is going to be a blowout. Starts to be that way in the first half. And man,
right. They take their foot off the pedal. They take their foot off the pedal too. Once
that thing goes south and Eastern Illinois starts feeling himself. I mean, you can look at all the scores over the last 2 days. This is the game before Christmas. You would much rather play a big time Michigan, North Carolina game. Both teams go home for Christmas. Both teams, hey, we fought, played a really good team. It's a tough situation. I lost one bye game, one guarantee game in my entire 13 years as a head coach.
Really? That's it?
That's impressive.
Man.
Right before Christmas break.
Was it Mike Young?
Mike Young.
Yeah.
The absolute worst.
He outcoached you.
Hey, Mike's a hell. We talking about the best X's and O guys in the country. There's one of them. Although
we're going to talk about that later. That's a little tease.
Yeah.
We are going to get Mac's top 3 X's and O's guys.
I'll quit talking. I'm just going to say this: Christmas games, man, they're tough.
Well, to that point, because back when I played, right, you get to campus August, September, and you're there from that time on, because Thanksgiving, you normally at a tournament, whatever that might be. So you get 3 days of nothing to do in the season. As a player, it is the best time of the year because you finally get to go home and see your family, and you've been going at it for 5 months. So look, there's a reason why players are so excited to get home, as you know, Coach, and Jeff, as you know. but it's hard when you have to focus on the task at hand before you go, because a win or a loss rather like this, if Iowa kind of gets into a situation in the Big Ten where it starts to be like that, you got the NCAA tournament resume, they're going to wish like hell they had this one back.
Yeah, this one's going to hurt. I mean, this one could hurt again, just because it leaves that sour taste, like even tonight. And again, we'll get to this with Virginia Tech BC here in a minute, but Mike Young, I'm walking to the bus with him, and you could tell it's like, man, now I got to think about this all Christmas break. Like, it's just bugging you of like, we should have won instead of enjoying it. And Mike's older. He'll be able to hopefully enjoy it. He'll have a few more, Miller Lights or Bud Lights or whatever. I don't know what he drinks. I think it is Miller Lite.
Good for him. Yeah,
but honestly, like, that's the tough part. If you're Iowa right now, and you've been up and down a little bit so far this year, I think if you get a healthy Chris Murray, and they're, again, I mean, what scares the shit out of me is they allowed 92 points today to Eastern Illinois.
Well, it's
not a good
lesson of those
team.
guys that played more minutes. They're always probably be in the locker room saying they should be playing more. And the guys that took over for Fran's kid and Murray, now they'll sort of go back to their respective roles and feel a little bit different, maybe.
It's a good point. When you look at Michigan, you look at Iowa. We'll start with Michigan first, just because we're talking Big Ten here. Is Michigan an NCAA tournament team in your eyes?
Boy, what do you think, Mac?
I mean, I think so. Obviously they're going to have to fight their tails off in the Big Ten. Man, I love Jett Howard. Man, he's good.
He's good.
He's good. And I think, obviously Buffkin and Doug McDaniel, they're young. I think they'll only get better and better. And, Hunter's capable on any given night of beating any team in the Big Ten just all by himself with a game like a 35-15 rebound type performance, which I think he's more than capable of. So I do think they're an NCAA tournament team. Obviously the injury to Llewellyn hurt them. Yeah. But, hey, man, they gave Carolina everything they wanted and more. And so I think for sure they're a tournament team.
They went down with the fight.
I don't know about for sure, because now, again, you look at it.
Well, I do. That's my opinion, Goodman.
Their resume. Listen, I got you.
We'll put $100 on that one.
They lose to Kentucky. They lose to Carolina. They just got some work to do in the Big Ten. I think, again, the beauty of the Big Ten is you've got so many opportunities.
Those two games didn't shock me as much as the Arizona State game.
That hurt.
Especially the margin. That one really hurt. But sometimes games like that get your kids' attention. And I like the way they played tonight. So it'll be interesting.
But to that point, those losses, they lose to UNC by 4. They lose to Kentucky by 4. They lose to UVA by 2. So it's not as if they're getting blown out by these teams. They're right there until the end.
Yeah, just got to win a couple of them, though.
Got to get a couple of them.
and I mean, they'll have, like Jeff said, so many opportunities.
But the problem, their best win to date, guys, is Pittsburgh on a neutral floor. I mean, they got to do some stuff in league play here. Now, I know, again, there's a bunch of teams right now that if the season ended today would actually get in the NCAA tournament without having like a big time resume win. Right. So they'll get them. They just got to, they got to knock off a few of these, and they need better. I mean, to me, you're going to need more consistent. And I actually think Doug McDaniel's done a good job for the most part so far. But Llewellyn getting hurt thrust him into a role that I'm not sure anybody saw him in this quickly, and he's got to mature fast.
The one good thing for Michigan, by the way, when they get back from Christmas break, they've got Central Michigan at home. Then their first 2 Big Ten games are also at home. So you got to love that as a coach. Hey, let's get into Boston College and Virginia Tech. We had boots on the ground. Jeff Goodman was there in the flesh. What you got for us?
Wow. I was shocked. I mean, I thought this was going to be ugly. Again, BC without their big guy, Quentin Post. Mac knows about him. He's the one guy that Boston College can kind of throw it into. And he's been out all year. Jaden Zachary, their talented guard, was coming off the bench. He wasn't healthy. So when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, like we could probably leave at halftime of this one. And And it was close. It was close. And I kept waiting for Virginia. They couldn't make shots early.
Yeah.
And that's kind of their thing. Like, they got great shooters and they haven't shot it quite as well as I thought they would this year. They had a chance to win it in regulation, and Sean Padula missed a shot that looked like it was going to go in. The most entertaining thing was the drunk Boston College fan right next to us that I told Talia, you've got to get video of this dude. She missed the really, I mean, he was drooling. He was that drunk. He would literally drool coming down. And he went from giving some of these other fans the finger to hugging them within, like,
those Catholic
half a
schools,
second.
man.
Yeah. I mean, he was getting after it tonight. And like, I just didn't know BC fans still had it in them like that. Like, they, there were like 43 BC fans, hoop fans. And he might be the president of the Earl Grant fan club. He was into it.
Incredible.
He reminded me of a young Chris Mack, actually.
Easy.
In a lot of ways.
Death environment. I mean, I feel sorry for Coach Grant. That's got to be one of the worst places to play right before Christmas.
Tough. And that crowd wasn't, I mean, again, I walked in with my daughter, and I think she's been there maybe once or twice. She didn't even remember ever going to County Forum before. It was years ago. And she was like, Dad, like, why isn't anybody here? And I'm like, it's just kind of that way. Years ago, it's a pro sports town, period. And Miami's similar. I always compare Boston College and Miami, obviously, other than the weather. They're similar jobs, right? Like, Miami, they're not coming unless you're winning at a high level. LeBron came years ago. Remember when, like, LeBron and D-Wade came when they had it rolling down there? Same thing in Boston. Like, when BC had it rolling with Jared Dudley, you would get people. Doug Flutie would be there.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree but disagree in the respect that one's a lot easier to recruit to than the other
because of the weather.
100%.
Right, but only because of the weather.
That's a big factor for some of those
and
kids.
Miami's a great party town.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, like,
Boston's not a great party town. Come on.
If you polled 100 high school All-Americans, I think 100 out of 100 are going to Miami over BC.
Well,
Drake shoots music videos in Miami. What more of a sell do you want, Goodman?
No, listen, I'm with you. All I'm saying is, like, those two jobs are similar in that they are all about pro sports. Unless you win at a super high level, nobody gives a shit. Yeah. How's that? Is that easier?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Virginia Tech's used to playing in great environments, and all of a sudden, again, their kids are probably packed for Christmas. Right. Coach Young probably said, I mean, if you walked them out to the bus, I don't know if you got to look if those kids were on the bus or if they were, if they were allowed to fly from BC home. That
I didn't see. Yeah, I mean, I saw some of them still hanging out with their families.
Because
I don't know.
They get that mandatory 3 days. So I bet those kids, the ones that are on the East Coast, they didn't go home. And the one thing, never played at Boston College until he got in the ACC at Louisville. Yeah. And my first year with NCAA tournament team, we lose at Boston College. Just the environment was pathetic. The next year, Jordan Wara's junior year, we were going back. So we sort of knew what to expect. But man, you walk into that shoot around and, you're talking about 6-7 hours before the game. It's usually mid-morning. Megan, you've been there in those type of shoot arounds, and it's like 16 degrees in the gym.
Oh, freezing.
It's freezing.
You got your sweatshirt on still. Yeah.
Under Armour basketballs. I don't know if there's anything worse. We're the only sport that doesn't standardize the ball you use, so.
Can we talk about that for a minute? I just want you to go on a little rant about that, because I have my own rant, but mine doesn't matter. You were a coach. Like, I don't understand how this isn't changed by now. What are we doing here?
I have no idea. Louisville obviously being an Adidas school. I think Adidas makes a horrendous basketball. Mm-hmm. So my equipment manager, Matt Stebbins, who's from New England guy.
Yeah.
He notices that Kansas in their home games is playing with a Wilson ball. And I'm like, why the hell are we playing with Adidas? And so we called up our Adidas rep, and he said he didn't care if we used it or not. And
really?
As long as he had it in the team picture. I put it right there and smiled with the thing. But it's like shooting an egg. You know what I mean? It's like sort of rolls like this. Same thing with the Under Armour balls. I mean, you're better off shooting a beach ball. So I was so nervous and petrified going back to BC the second year, even though our guys knew what to expect. And then Wara shoots about 8 from 10 from 3 and scores like 40. So I guess Jordan didn't care about Under Armour basketballs.
It is a terrible ball. I swear it's heavier too, by the way.
You're 100% right. It's even people that know basketball, that play basketball, that shoot around, you can tell the difference between basketballs, and Under Armour balls are bottom of the barrel.
Just give me the Wilson, get out of the way.
Yep, there you go. And that's what they use in the tournament. And, you know, to Jeff's point, that's what college basketball needs to do, standardize the ball.
It's just like, honestly, it should be one of the easiest things ever to do. It's like whoever is making this decision, I mean, it's probably Mark Emmert. And I'm kidding. Tongue in cheek, I'm saying it's probably Mark Emmert. I know it's not Mark Emmert, but it's dumb enough that it should have been Mark Emmert and probably could have been.
Well, in fairness to Mark, it's been like this well before he was the president.
Yes. Good point. Good point.
Was that similar to your rant, Goodman?
Very similar. I knew Mac wouldn't screw that one up. There's a lot of things he could screw up. I knew we'd be aligned on this and Dunkin' Donuts, and that's about it.
I appreciate that.
I love that.
That's a big time win for Coach Grant, though. I don't want to take anything away.
Right. Big time win.
Crush the atmosphere. I mean, like his kids are playing in the same atmosphere. So,
and he's trying, man. Like,
hell yeah.
Again, BC, not an easy job. Al Skinner had some success there. So everybody thinks that, well, everybody should be able to do what Al did. Well, Al also had Ed Cooley and Billy Cohn.
Yep. Guys
were unbelievable. Like maybe the best coaching staff, 2 assistants I've ever seen. And they got him great players, and Al was awesome at developing those players. Awesome. He did it his way. He wasn't the hardest working coach in the world, especially in the recruiting trail, but you know what? He won. Well, they tried with Steve Donahue. Ivy League players didn't get it done. Jim Christian, really good ball coach, couldn't really get it done. And he had Jerome Robinson and Kai Bowman, 2 really good guards. They couldn't get to the tournament. Now you got Earl Grant coming from down south, and it's going to be hard. That's a tough ass job to get it done in Boston College.
That's a heck of a way to start his ACC season, though, right there.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech's going to be one of the top 5 teams in the league.
Yeah, and to that point, who is the best team in the ACC right now?
Boy, I don't know. I'm not sure there is one. I think it's going to change.
Well, I think Miami's showing you that, that so
they're
far
good
through the games that they're good. Isaiah Wong, terrific. I still think Virginia is going to be standing at the end of the year.
You know why? I agree with you. Just look at Tony Bennett's regular season record in ACC play over the last 10 years. It blows. I did it for like the 7 years that it was Roy Kay and Tony Bennett up until the end of Roy's career. And like he was like 15 games better than Roy, like 10 games better than Kay, like 25 games better than Boeheim. It was insane. So anytime you're going to give me the opportunity, I'm going to take Tony Bennett in Virginia. I just think that highly of him as a coach.
I agree. And, like the years that maybe haven't been Tony Bennett like, and there haven't been too many of them, maybe a year ago, they had real struggles in the preseason, in the non-conference.
Yeah.
They're not having that. They've dropped one here and there. Right. They're not having those. I think
when they dropped one against a really good Houston team.
Right.
Really good.
Right. In a game they were winning for a while. So I just think that as the season progresses, I think his kids will continue to get it like they always have. His teams have a history.
What makes, again, you've coached against him and the pack line. What makes preparing, and maybe not even preparing, but for your kids to be able to execute against Virginia so difficult?
Well, I think that number one, it becomes sort of a different rhythm game. It's their ball, your ball.
Yeah.
Their ball, your ball. And if you have, as a player, any issue or any, hypersensitivity when you come to the bench in the second TV timeout that the score is 7-5 and you haven't gotten a shot yet.
Yeah.
If that bothers you, they've got you mentally.
They've rattled you.
They've got you rattled. Here's the thing. Your team takes a tough shot for whatever reason, end of shot clock, whatever the case is. They'll get a defensive rebound and literally have a 4-on-2 that any team in the country would take, and they're going to walk the ball up. They're just going to bleed you to death. Now, obviously, I'm maybe over-exaggerating a little. They'll take a break here or there, but for the most part, they're going to walk the thing up and just really play into that mind game of this is going to be our pace game. And, they're so elite at guarding the ball and being big at the rim. It's just hard to get a good shot against them.
When you look at championship teams, I mean, they defend well and they control pace. And those are two things that UVA has been able to make its identity since Tony Bennett has been there, which is so impressive to watch from afar.
Yeah, he's terrific. By the way, am I reading this score right? Is this right? San Francisco, Arizona State score?
They're down big right now. I don't know the latest update live on the air.
I'm seeing right now, and again, I might want to refresh this, but 72-31 San Francisco.
Christmas 70. I got 72-31 as well. Christmas trap games.
Oh my God, Bobby Hurley, Christmas dinner right now. His wife, man.
Played at San Fran.
Yeah, I think it's at a neutral.
War Memorial at the Sobrato Center.
I don't know where we're.
3,000. I think that's at San Fran.
San Fran. Why would you play that game? Why would you play that game, Chris?
I didn't.
I know you didn't. I know you didn't. Like, man, that's a brutal
and
game.
I wouldn't.
Going into Christmas. That's a brutal game.
Maybe he's got relatives in San Francisco and they don't have to go back to Tempe after the game.
I don't know, man. This is a tough loss for, Bobby Hurley and Arizona
you just
State.
sit on that loss for 4 days, watching your kids open.
And you're a Hurley.
Presents.
Wait, you're a Hurley. So you're beyond intense and out of your mind. And now, man,
Times two.
Wow. My guess is if I'm Bob Sr. and his wife, I'm going to go spend Christmas with Dan Hurley.
Well, I have to wonder if that Christmas dinner would be anything like the Brad Underwood press conference that we saw for Illinois lately. And I know we have it on deck. Let's run it, see what happened.
Completely unacceptable. The lack of leadership on this team is zero. It is none.
Brady, you've talked a lot about TJ's leadership since he's gotten here.
That's what I thought of that today. But I'm just telling you, our approach to this game right now is immature, and it lacks complete 100% lack of leadership. And if I got to go back to leading again, this team's in trouble. Somebody on this team's got to step up.
I was not happy at all, that we were down 3 to a team like that. It wasn't funny to me at all, and people were laughing, and I just came in and I was pretty upset in the huddle, and I let everybody know.
Matt, these are 2 games where I don't think you guys feel good about your effort. Is this, what's this time mean for this team? What's this team at right now?
I'm the wrong guy to ask about that because I really have my own opinions about this that I would not be saying up here on this podium. I think we got a lot to figure out internally between the players and the coaches.
And I disagree with that. He's every player. Matt's been in a system for 4 years, and not every player's like him.
Well, for starters, the fart noise went viral on the internet. I feel like it's all I have seen for the last week. But secondly, this is an Illinois team that is kind of new from the standpoint of it's added so many freshmen and transfers, and you're still in December. So you're relatively trying to iron the kinks out. But coach, for this type of exchange to happen in the media, how do you feel about it from that vantage point?
Well, I'm sure Brad, probably like most coaches do at the beginning of the year, talked about, what happens in-house. What happens on our practice court, what happens in the locker room stays in our locker room. And, I'm sure after the game, he probably voiced his displeasure to the team and was transparent with that with the media. And it becomes a tough situation, and so I don't envy Brad having to figure it out.
Chris, if you would say that, right, that keep it in the locker room, but didn't he go against that in a way of then calling out his players publicly?
But again, he may have referenced that in the locker room, like that he was going to, talk in the press conference about the lack of leadership, and maybe, again, that's why I hate to speculate, because all this stuff happens behind closed doors. Has this been an issue for the last 2 weeks? Has he been screaming at every practice that he doesn't have leadership that's stepping up to the plate? Was that the straw that broke the camel's back? Again, maybe he didn't have that type of preseason meeting where he didn't talk about what we talk about with the media. But it's a tough situation. I'm sure it's going to have some type of, resolution between, Mayor and Brad. They're going to have to sit down and, again, I think that's what happens nowadays when the game is so transient. Kids are coming and going.
Mm-hmm.
You've got fifth years, you've got COVID juniors, you've got kids transferring to third schools. It's just a little.
Well, he
bit
knew
of,
what he could get away with like Trent Frazier, who he coached with for years, right? Kofi. Now, with Matthew Meyer, think about it. He goes from playing for Scott Drew to Brad Underwood. Those are two completely different personalities and coaching styles. Scott Drew might be the most positive human being on the planet, literally on the planet. And Brad is old school, comes from that Huggins tree, right? So like I think Brad's probably trying to figure out what buttons to push to get as much as he can leadership wise out of a kid that has not been a leader, Matthew Meyer. And the same thing with Terrence Shannon, to be honest. Terrence Shannon, think about it, like he's been kind of a piece. Well, now you're the dude. And I need you to be not only the dude on the court, consistent player, but I need you to lead a bunch of young guys, right? Jaden Epps, Sky Clark, some of these other guys, even Coleman Hawkins. Coleman Hawkins has been there, but he hasn't done a whole heck of a lot. So I think Brad's trying to figure out, right, like play psychiatrist with these kids.
Yeah, a little bit, and I think, when you talk about those kids transferring in, they transferred in for a different situation. They made the choice to play for Brad Underwood. You would think that, there'd be a little bit of, resolution behind closed doors before it goes to the media, because now it's just going to be brought up. It's going to be an issue. It's going to be talked about. It's going to be an uncomfortableness, after certain games and interviews and whatnot. Is this behind you? And every loss, everything's going to be magnified. And so, man, it's a tough situation. That's why you always wanted to be able to resolve these things in-house and keep it within the family, because everybody goes through these type of situations. But when they become public,
because we want to know then. We're going to ask those questions after every loss, right? Like, Matt, we're going to run up to Matthew Meyer after every loss now. What do you think? How's your relationship now with Coach? What did Coach say to you after the game? All that.
100%. I mean, I had some guys that I coached, JP McKeown, if everything was an open book and, we had to talk about and report to you guys everything that happened in a practice or, a competitive situation. I mean, you'd be tap dancing in front of the media. And so, again, tough situation. I don't like when, kids go behind the microphone, and that's why I tried to, take the bullets when a guy wasn't playing well or the leadership wasn't what you wanted, just sort of try to deal with that behind closed doors and, try to get your point across one-on-one rather than, through the media.
Illinois plays Missouri tomorrow, last game before Christmas, those dang Christmas games. How important is it going to be for Matthew Meyer to come out and have a great game and to see kind of that storyline, put it into it?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily he has to have a great game. I think if you pull the quotes from Coach Underwood, I think he wants leadership. I think he wants, to see a guy that's bringing those young guys along, whatever he wants out of his team. Maybe it's defensively, guys getting on the floor. Maybe it's taking charges, maybe it's making the extra pass. Can't say that I know, but I don't think that he's asking him to get 25 and 15. And then, I'm going to be happy to be your coach. I think he wants to see him lead those young guys. And sometimes it's not easy when you're a transfer. It's a new situation for you. But again, he chose to play for Brad, and I think he's got to figure it out if he wants to.
And you got to know as a kid to some degree who you're playing for, right? You're doing your research. You got to know what you're getting yourself into. I mean, this is a guy who, again, was a JUCO guy years ago, came up through Bob Huggins. Like, come on. I mean, Hire's smart enough to understand that.
Yeah. And this, you covered recruiting for so long. You ask every kid, what are the main factors in their recruitment? And then they're a little bit smarter when they're coming out of college rather than coming out of high school. Right. They're going to say, I want a relationship with the head coach. I want an opportunity. When I look at the roster, I'm going to see it. Is there a path to get to the next level? Those are like 3 standard things that a kid will say. And so, but first and foremost, man, you want to know who that head coach is and, how he coaches and what type of style he employs.
But to that point, with the portal the way it is right now, the second someone goes in, these kids are committing within 48 hours somewhere else. Because of the nature of the portal now, do kids have as much time to really do their homework?
I think that there are a lot of ways to be able to figure out whether it's your high school coach, your AAU coach that, knows these guys. Maybe it was they recruited you coming out of high school, whether it's getting on your computer, whatever the case is. But they certainly don't have a year to play around with. They have about 2 or 3 weeks to try to figure out their next destination. But, maybe that's why some kids should take a little bit longer and decide is transferring really the best option for me.
It's going to be interesting to kind of see how this era of college basketball evens out over the course of the next 5 years, just because, this is kind of a new thing that we're seeing with no transfer. You don't have to sit out rather. And it's kind of become the NBA free agency with no salary cap. So going to be interesting to see how that turns out. Gentlemen, last 10 minutes or so, it is, we're right near Christmas around the corner. We're in the holidays. We're in Hanukkah right now. College coaches comparisons to famous holiday movies. Let's end this on a high note. We got a couple of very famous characters. So we're going to go around and just chat about which coach is most like, for example, Scrooge from A Christmas Carol. We can start there. We're going to go with Clark Griswold, Christmas Vacation, Kevin from Home Alone, Ralphie from A Christmas Story, and one of my personal favorites, Buddy the Elf from Elf. So let's start with Scrooge. And our producer Trevor put in little descriptors for what you should be characterizing your choices as. And for Scrooge, he wrote grumpy old man.
Grumpy old man.
I can't say he's an old man, but I can say he's grumpy, and that would be Bobby Hurley after tonight.
He will be Scrooge.
Yeah,
no
Scrooge
question.
Doesn't like Christmas. He doesn't believe in Christmas, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't think Bob Hurley's going to believe in Christmas over the next 3 or 4 days until he plays that next game after Christmas.
I like that.
You know who was a good one from? He's not coaching right now. It's not you, Mac. Don't worry.
I appreciate that.
Mark Turgeon would be one.
Oh,
yeah, would have had some Scrooge in him. I'm trying to think of who else. Fran McCaffrey tonight for sure, right? For sure. But I'm looking for somebody like consistently, who's kind of a Scrooge type.
I went Jim Boeheim.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Did your homework.
Did a little homework.
Really good.
Very prepared.
I think you look at even when I'm saying the Big Ten sucks. He's Scrooge.
Yeah.
He even talks like Scrooge.
You might have hit it. I think you nailed that one.
No offense. I've got mad respect for Jim Boeheim in the zone defense at Syracuse. I love me some zone defense, let me tell you. But for this exercise and all intents and purposes, the man's Scrooge.
I
That's
mean, I think he would
tremendous.
agree with you on that. You know, I
He
think
might.
that
He
you can
might.
still
That
have
was really
respect
good.
for,
Good job,
you know,
Megan. Good
you can have
job.
respect for his coaching career, but he can still be Scrooge.
There we go. Clark Griswold, gentlemen, a fantastic movie, Christmas Vacation. Systematic wants perfection was the descriptor on this one.
What do you got? Go first, Megan. I'm thinking through
I
this.
went Porter Moser, just from the standpoint of how he runs his teams, the desire to have that perfection. Watching him coach the other night in the Jumpman Classic. God, these different freaking tournament names. I don't know. To me, he's got some Clark Griswold in him. Plus, I feel like he would have a great Christmas tree.
I'm gonna
Go ahead.
go Tom Izzo. You know, I think if there's any coach that is systematic, it's Izzo. I could also see him, you know, as you watch him on the sideline every once in a while, he's just correcting a player or walking into the tunnel. You know, when he gets so frustrated, a little bit of Griswold kicking the reindeer on the front lawn up in the air when the lights won't go on. I could see that a little bit out of Coach Izzo, but certainly systematic, wants it perfect. I think that's him to a T.
Like a Steve Peichel, maybe?
Oh, that's a
Right?
good one. Yeah.
Like Pike would be pretty good, very systematic and, you know, kind of his way and doesn't, you know, wants to know exactly. I don't know. I'll go Pike there.
All right, I like it. Next, we have Kevin from Home Alone. I wasn't going to do the Kevin scream. Resourceful, forgotten about. Who's the Kevin of college basketball?
I mean, this is easy. It's easy, but it's not. I'm just going to go like Mick Cronin. I just think
Really?
like,
That's forgotten about, maybe?
no, not no,
What?
more of the look. I don't know. More of the look.
He looks like he doesn't have hair. Kevin's blonde.
I know, like put some blonde hair on Mick. I don't know. Maybe just I could picture Mick like, I don't know. All right, give me another chance.
You can have another chance. I went Tony Bennett. Just because I feel like he's somebody when we talk about college basketball, we talk about all the hot things. UVA doesn't always do the sexiest thing, so we're not always talking about him. He's kind of forgotten in that sense. Also, can't you see Tony Bennett chilling in a limo eating some pizza?
No, not that part. I was in on all the other stuff. I'm not sure if Bennett.
Right, I'm looking for like a knucklehead. That should be the description.
No, Kevin's smart.
But he was kind of a knucklehead.
Was he? He got rid of the robbers by himself. He was like
I know, but he was like a mischievous knucklehead who was smart. Yes, I'll give you that. But wasn't like he all mischievous and like, no?
He's a knucklehead.
He wasn't a knucklehead. I thought he was smart.
Wise beyond his years. You know, I would say the look, you know, when you said Home Alone, I'm thinking like a young looking guy. I'm going Todd Golden of Florida.
That was my other choice.
There you go. You know, just he's really young looking. He looks like he shouldn't be where he is. Certainly Kevin shouldn't have been Home Alone. My son watches that movie literally every day.
All right, I got one. I got a better one. Nate Oates.
That's another good
one. Right? He's at Alabama, you know, in Saban's shadow. He's kind of got, you know, he's smart, obviously, taking that NBA kind of style and using it, and it helps him recruit at a high level. Nate Oates.
All right. I like that. Okay, I like both those. I like all of them. Ralphie, which is mischievous, ill-behaved from A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
See, I went Tom Izzo here.
That's a good one.
Because, I mean, Izzo, you can just kind of see up to no good, maybe like Henri. And plus, he was wearing a Grinch sweater tonight on the bench as Michigan State took on Oakland, which I thought was just like a fantastic touch. You got to have a little fun doing this, right? It's not brain surgery.
Tough look.
Who do you got, Mac?
I got nothing.
I mean, to me, it would Dan Hurley's a good one there.
Oh, okay.
You know, like, you know, poorly behaved. He's gonna love it. He's gonna love it. Much better behaved lately. How's that?
Glasses too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, it looks like Ralphie. You know, I mean, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Is he going to like a telephone pole though?
Oh, he could do it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. After a loss, no doubt.
Oh my God. Okay. Finally, Buddy the Elf, young, just, happy sprite, excited about life. I went with John Shire.
This
Just
is super
young.
easy. This is super
Yeah.
easy for me.
Okay. Who?
I mean, honestly, the easiest one you could possibly give anybody. Mac's going to like this one. Who's the most positive, other than Scott Drew, who's the most positive person in college basketball? Mac. He was in your league.
Mike Bray.
No, Josh Pastner.
Oh, it's a good one.
Right?
That's a really good one.
You ever seen Pastner? I mean, occasionally he'll be in a bad mood, but it's rare. It's
Very
rare.
rare. Very rare. I'd go with Pat Kelsey. Ultimate positivity, always in a great mood, highest energy,
Oh, the highest of high energy.
highest of high energy.
It's almost like
Too much.
scary how
Yeah.
much energy
Yeah.
Kels has.
Yeah.
I'm going to see it in Charleston.
But he's been that way. I mean, like, I remember the guy when he was a fifth grader,
Really?
Yeah.
Come
Oh,
on.
yeah.
You knew him in the 5th grade?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
From Cincinnati, man. We're like a couple streets apart.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know you knew him that young.
Yep. He got mad at me when he had his basketball hoop in the backyard, glass backboard. And me and a couple buddies went over there and I'm hanging on the rim and he comes storming out of his house. He's like in the 4th grade, 5th grade. And he's like, get off my rim. And like ran back in the house. And I'm like, all right. So
Were you guys the same age?
no, I'm a little bit older.
So you weren't scared of Kels.
No, I'm not scared of Kels.
You weren't
He's
scared.
Too positive. He's got great energy,
That's a great energy. He
He-
did it. Did you see his deal on Twitter of the reenactment of Tom Browning's no-hitter?
First of all, Pat,
Perfect
for
game.
the last 20 years, has known every word on that final pitch.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He and his brother, I think they recorded it and then memorized it. And Pat, drop of the hat. You could be walking anywhere and say, all right, give me the last pitch to Tom Browning's no-hitter. He'll give it to you.
It was amazing.
It might not even be the last pitch. It might be the entire.
Yeah, it
final
was
act.
more than the last pitch.
Yeah,
it was more.
It was all of them, for sure.
That's a
And
hell of a
it's
party
word
trick.
for word from
Right.
Marty Brenneman.
Right. Sorry, Megan. Tangent.
No, it's okay. Go on, gentlemen. Biggest game you're going to be looking for tomorrow, Jeff Goodman?
What is the biggest game? I need to buy me a little time. I'm looking at the deal today. I was out today. I mean, listen, I didn't just go to the BC Virginia Tech game. I went to the first half of the BU UMass Lowell game today. Yes, I did. So I haven't looked yet. I'm looking as we speak. Towson Bryant's a good game for a mid-major game.
Illinois, Missouri, for me.
Yeah, it'd be a good one.
Well, I just think what we talked about with Coach Underwood would be interesting to see how we respond before Christmas break.
Yeah.
That's Christmas games.
I mean, I want to see if Creighton can end their 6-game losing streak
Man,
against Butler at home. They're probably going to get Ryan Kalkbrenner back from everything that I've been told. So I think they're going to be in good shape there. They got to stop the bleeding right now. Have to.
Especially going into Christmas.
those first couple games they lost, you're like, man, they're losing to great teams, and they still lost to really good teams all the way through. But it's like what we talked about at the beginning with Michigan. You can't lose them all. You got to steal 1 and 2.
Right.
So it'd be a tough one.
Shoot.
What do you guys got going on for Christmas? Megan?
I'm trying to get to Charlotte, North Carolina, but in case you guys haven't watched the news at all, we got a massive blizzard coming in. So my flight's already been canceled. I'm on another one tomorrow night. That's going to get canceled probably. If anyone knows a private jet that's not afraid to fly in blizzard conditions, let me know.
Why Charlotte?
Fiance's family.
Ah, nice. Very,
Yes.
very nice.
Yes. First Christmas away from home.
Oh, no.
All that big
So
adult stuff that happens when you get married.
mom and dad aren't happy about this, are they?
They're fine about it.
They're okay with it.
They
They're
can see me
okay,
all the time.
but they're
You
going to
know,
be missing you.
Yes. Obviously, I'm a great addition to a holiday function.
I dread this day. Hopefully it's 10 years down the line with my daughter, but I dread that day. We'll be driving down to Charleston early in the morning tomorrow.
How's that drive?
We're not going in one day. We're going probably 8 hours tomorrow from Boston. We'll get through like DC. And then Friday night, we have tickets for the Carolina Hurricanes game.
Oh, it's
My
our
daughter's a
hockey
huge
fan.
Canes fan.
Mhm.
So hopefully we're going to make it. I mean, I don't know how bad the weather's going to be, but I'm sure it's not going to be great to drive through. Probably should have left today if I was smart, but I'm not. So, Mac, where are you going?
I'm just gonna hang right here in the Ville for a couple days with the wife's side of the family, and then after Braden opens his Christmas presents from Santa on Sunday morning, we're gonna head back to Cincinnati, and mom, brother, sister, their families probably stay there for 3 or 4 days. Pretty low key.
Yeah, you can't get down to Florida for the
I
good
mean,
weather.
it's 90 minutes. I was in Florida last weekend, so we believe in letting Braden open his Christmas presents from Santa right here at the house, and then we'll tentacle off from there.
At what point will Braden figure out that Santa is not real?
Well,
Careful, Goodman.
Hopefully
Oh
not.
no, Santa's real. I'm sorry, Santa is real, Megan. I don't want to spoil it for you.
Please. What about the Easter Bunny?
I don't know. My daughters weren't until like the 6th, 7th grade. They were older. And,
Really?
That's awesome. I love that.
So usually, the younger ones figure it out a little bit early. They're a little bit
So true.
streetwise. he's got older sisters. So,
Yeah.
we're keeping our fingers crossed. He'll be fine this Christmas for sure.
Oh,
With all the
what's
damn
he ask-
Amazon packages that keep coming to the doorstep, I'm pretty sure
Oh,
he'll
my-
figure it out.
I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure it's got to be insane, right, Christy?
Yes,
Every day, how many?
every day. I mean,
5 a day?
We're like on a Cal Ripken streak right now. It's like somebody showing up and dropping a package off at some point every day.
Yeah, I've been on those streaks, and
My
trust me,
goodness.
I wasn't the one ordering.
Just
about
to
supp-
clarify.
How
Just
about
to
supply
clarify.
chain
That's right.
issues? We have no problems in our house. Every supply chain's coming right here.
We know why any of our Amazon deliveries are delayed because they're coming to your house.
That's exactly
right.
right. Feels
We'll
like
blame you. We'll have Bezos send you a bill. Gentlemen, happy holidays and have safe travels. Enjoy it. And we'll have lots of hoops to talk about after the holidays in the new year. So looking forward to it. As always, if you need a last minute Christmas gift, go to field68.shop for merch. Good
Right.
stuff. Always a
We gotta
good
get it.
gift.
Chris
Good
Mack.
giving.
We need a Chris Mack jersey at some point.
Look at his shirt. His shirt's pretty cool too. The Hick from French Lick.
Oh, I like that. Where can I get that?
where it from? Homage. You heard that? HOMAGE homage.com.
Yeah, I like that shirt.
That's a free
great
plug
shirt.
right there. Maybe I'll get a little NIL deal on that.
Seriously.
shirt.
It's another package to show up at your door.
That's right. That's right. But finally, he'll have ordered one.
There we go.
Exactly.
There we have it.
All right.
just-
Happy holidays,
Next time, happy
Megan.
holidays.
Be safe. Get
too,
to
guys.
Charlotte,
Merry
and
Christmas.
we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.